Hello and welcome to Important Learning, the home for the best stories lived at KLU Logistics University. Navigate with us through the life experience of our students and let yourself be inspired by their challenges and their achievements. Here we go. We are so ready to have a great time today. And I am very glad that we are starting this podcast at KLU with an authentic star of all the students that have come around KLU in our entire history. Bachelor graduate Philipp Zimmer. We're going to get to know more about Philipp and how he lived his experience at KLU. But for starters, we can tell that Philipp is a very, very special person at KLU. I think we could actually say the same for all of our students, because at KLU, we really see every student as a unique member of our big family. But in this case, Philipp brings something else onto the table, which is his absolutely stunning and inspiring academic achievements. Philipp was part of our bachelor's in business administration and graduated in 2020 with the highest GPA ever, a 1.0, which in German scale basically means semi-God level or something like that. Hello, Philipp. I'm truly pleased that you are here dedicating this time to share with us and with our listeners.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here, great to be back on campus and talking to you here. Yeah, thanks.
Logically, being bold as you are, you applied for some of the most prestigious universities in the world. And of course, the thumbs up of these institutions didn't take too long to come your way. You were admitted in several universities, including the renowned Massachusetts Institute of Technology, so like the MIT, everybody knows it like that, in Boston, and the Columbia University in New York. And that's where the American dream starts for you, Philipp. But let's look at how all of this started. Let's look back to your beginnings at KLU. When and how you decide to come to pursue your studies at KLU?
Yeah, sure. Happy to give a little context. So when graduating from high school in 2016, I didn't want to jump right into university and spent about a year working in the local organization in Uganda. But before leaving Germany and heading to Uganda, I also spent some time with DB Schenker Logistics, this bigger freight forwarding company, and somehow got a gist of logistics and got very much interested in that. And since I was already clear that I wanted to study something related to economics and business, the KLU seemed like the perfect fit of combining these two different passions and interests. And I mean, for sure, a number of other factors like KLU being located in Hamburg, a city I fell in love with many, many years ago. KLU being such an international community, offering a program in English and integrated semester abroad. I think it offered all that I was searching for at that point. And therefore, I applied quite early, I think around Christmas or so, and was happy to receive my admissions, I think around my birthday in February. So that was a nice present. And yeah, I was up for a good start with KLU.
Great timing to receive good news, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And then 3 years pass, and then you're finishing your bachelor's. We'll talk about that bachelor's though. But you're finishing, presenting your thesis, and then you decide to apply, of course, having such a good GPA to great universities, MIT, Columbia. And you get a result too. I don't know if it was at your birthday this time, but tell us, how is this moment that you go to your families, your mom, to your siblings, I don't know if you have siblings, and say, Mom, Dad, I got admitted to MIT, or I got admitted to Columbia. Like, how did that go?
I think the moment was a little different than many may expect. So, of course, there was like a lot of pride and a lot of happiness. But I think first and foremost, there was a lot of relief because my parents had suffered with me through this process, which is really tiresome and takes a couple of months, right? I think we start applying at times in around August, September to study a year later, essentially. And before receiving my first acceptance, which was to Columbia, I actually received 4 or 5 rejections. So I was at the point where I was like, am I aiming too high here, or is this not going to work out? So I think the first feeling was a lot of relief, also on the side of my parents, but then that turned to happiness pretty fast, and very thankful to be given this opportunity.
It is then a very complicated admission process, like doing all the application and everything, as you were saying.
I wouldn't necessarily call it complicated. I think a main factor that makes this time so long and also so cumbersome is that many different universities have different deadlines and have different documents you have to present, and that stretches out the process. So I think the first university I applied to, I had to apply by 9th of November or so. And of course, then you have to start reaching out to professors for references and prepare some tests, etc. And that makes the whole thing so time intensive.
Wow, that's time consuming at the end of the day. So you get admitted in several of these universities, MIT and Columbia, two of them, but some others. And then you have to make a decision. It's almost as complicated as making a decision who to apply to. And finally, you got the admission to several, and now you have to make a decision, where do I go? How was that decision-making process?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, most probably it would have been much easier just to be admitted at one place, and then, the decision is taken for you. I think something maybe first and foremost, what one should never forget if, you're given such a great opportunity is that you can't make the wrong decision, right? You can only make the right decision. And if you find yourself in this situation, then it's very hard to convince yourself that you can only make the right decision. And then, going about it, I guess there's, in the end, so many factors that you can weigh off of, the faculty you will be working with, the students you will be studying with, because at times you can get to know them before you have to make your decision. The program's interest, of course, the living environment as well. And I guess also most importantly, and after all, where you see the best personal fit, right? Where you think you will feel home, just as I felt home at KLU, where you will think that you will thrive as a person and where you will be happy. And I guess in the end, it comes also down a little bit to a gut decision of seeing, where you think you're best placed.
I understand. So, I mean, of course, what you have achieved in this 3 years of bachelor is really impressive and definitely hard work. Nobody can discredit that. People may think that to accomplish what you have done, you have to give up on many things. Is that right? Is that so? Or how do you organize yourself to still keep a balance of being a great student and have a life?
I mean, right, the two questions of yours are pretty much interlinked. The better you organize yourself, the less you have to give up. I think this is maybe the most important part of it. I guess one learning I had throughout these years, and I think that's also something that enabled me to do what I did, is that you shouldn't just do things for the purpose of, your CV and building your resume, but you should really aim to do all of these things that you do on campus, off campus, out of interest, out of passion, because that will make life much easier, and it will not hurt that you have to give up maybe to one or the other time, not go to the cinema on the weekend or not go out party, because you will enjoy what you're doing. Although I wouldn't directly say you have to give up many things to do what I've done. I mean, there's a certain time commitment to it, and there's natural boundaries to what you can do. We all only have 24 hours a day. We all need to sleep. We all need to eat, right? And we also, I guess, all have to maintain some social interactions. I think we've learned that through COVID. But I would say when it comes to organizing yourself and therefore also being able to do many things at the same time and achieve what you want to achieve, is being very strict in the way you organize your time. Not wasting your own resources on things that you're maybe not into, or where you feel like, oh, this is not going anywhere. So also having the courage to say, oh, this project that I think would be super interesting, I know it's not going anywhere. Let me not waste more time and energy on it. And besides that, I would also say you have to be, in that sense, very flexible, right? You never know if you have many things on your plate, what will come up next. And you need to be really good in strategizing and organizing, how to handle deadlines, to handle many competing interests. And I think then you're set up also doing many great things without losing out too much on life.
I'm going to keep with those two, prioritizing and also always have a little bit more space because you don't know what is going to come up. I think that was very smart tip, actually. So I'm going to take this one, I think in my own life, probably too. But the good thing is that has been all studying at KLU and, hard work and assignments. It also, you have had the time to organize yourself for doing other activities. So tell us a little bit, how was your experience, what you have been involved in the university aside of your classes?
Yeah. Thanks so much for bringing up that point, because I think this is one of these crucial arguments for KLU that probably I wasn't even that aware of prior to starting to study here, is that there's just such an enormous amount of opportunities that we students have in joining activities that are already ongoing. But I guess this is also to stress, starting your own new thing. If there's an initiative, something that you find always missing here on campus, I think faculty, staff, the entire university is always very supportive of that. Coming closer to your question of what I was doing, so I think there were a couple of things of more serious and less serious things I was involved with. For example, KLU has a football team, which was really enjoyable just to meet with others and play always on Thursdays. We were maybe not the most competitive team in this university league in Hamburg, but we had a great bunch of people together enjoying themselves and also connecting beyond the time of the football on the court. And I think this made life also, gave it a little different taste besides classes all day long. And then besides that, a little more serious, so to say, I was also involved with UniConnect, which is a student club that's essentially trying to bridge the gap between students and industry. That means we usually invited companies to hold speeches, but also did outreaches where we were traveling with many students, for instance, to Berlin. We're visiting different startups there, different industry companies, and trying therefore to, help kickstart people's careers also in a way. And I think beyond that, there's also many, many other initiatives that I would highly encourage, entering students to look into and get involved with.
Okay, wow. All of that is so interesting. I mean, I think we could do a podcast almost on every single one of those initiatives. But there is also something else that during all these years of your bachelor's, you have carried a big responsibility with yourself, another big project. And I will want you to tell us about this project and introduce it to our listeners as well.
Yeah, I would be happy to. Thanks so much for bringing this up as well. So as I had mentioned prior already, I spent some time in Uganda working in a small organization that's supporting street children all over the country. And one concern, of course, of that project is always, as for many nonprofit organizations, is funding. And most crucial funding for the organization entails the costs that arise from the educational process of the children that are involved in the project. So very differently than the benefits we see here in Germany. Even going to the very basic governmental schools in Uganda is at cost. It entails tuition fees, uniform expenses, and of course all the other things that we know that we need to study, books, etc. And I very much enjoyed my time, and I took so much out of these 13 months for myself, for my personal development, that I knew that I wanted to give something back, right? I mean, I came to Uganda in the first place because I thought, well, maybe I can leave a mark, but I also wanted to take it beyond that. So when I came back to Germany, that was in December 2017, me and a couple of friends that were also volunteers in Uganda prior that I had met there, we founded a nonprofit here in Germany, which is called Subilia Bana, which is translated Hope for Children. And what we're essentially trying to aim is talking to SMEs, talking, of course, also to private persons to get involved and donating specifically dedicated to the educational process of the children that I was working with prior. And this has been running now for some time already. And I'm very happy that this is still up and running, and we're kind of expanding the scale of the operations, as in every year about 20 children join the program, the organization newly, and enter the formal educational process. And so far, we've always been able to come up with the funds that are necessary to support that. And I hope that we can continue that in the future as well.
I think it's rather beautiful that while you're receiving your education, you're taking care of other people receiving their education. I imagine that's really satisfactory and rewarding in a personal level.
I mean, I would give it another thought, and I would say that probably my motivation and endurance during studies, and I guess every student will encounter that at some point in his life, that right, and grit and endurance is also needed. Also stems from my time in Uganda. I would quite frankly say I was a rather lazy student back in high school. Somehow made my way through it, and somewhat very happy that I got into KLU. But I guess this spirit of striving for more and more, that also came through my time in Uganda, and seeing that there's many children that would do anything for quality education, and then I was just asking myself, hey, I have all these opportunities. Let's also do the same, right? Let's aim for the best, and hopefully also use whatever I learn for some positive impact in the world.
That is wonderful. So you're giving these opportunities to the kids in Uganda, and you're taking your own opportunities at KLU with your bachelor's, 3 years that have been part of your life that will never disappear, will never go away. Please let us know, share today with us what is, do you think, the best takeaway after the 3 years you spent in KLU?
I would say first of all, it was one of the best decisions that I made in life, and it has brought me personally very much. And I've seen this also with many, classmates how they've grown and developed throughout these 3 years, through all these activities that are part of the curriculum. So, just very honestly, I can highly recommend KLU. And I would say besides that, I think that KLU is what you make out of it. Then I would just highly encourage everybody that is part of KLU already and that will be part of KLU to really, take all these opportunities up and, make the best out of this experience, because, people will only be supportive here, whether it's faculty, whether it's staff. So it's really up to you to, make it even better of an experience than it will be anywhere.
How would you see yourself in the long-term future? Where do we see Philipp when MIT has passed, your master's graduated, and where is your life going towards?
Yeah, that's of course an interesting question always. Not only by grandmas and parents, but yeah, it's a good point. So I think I'm already quite settled when it comes to the thematic area I want to be working in. I already, during my time at KLU, concentrated in humanitarian logistics, where I wrote my thesis. And I think I will also want to stay connected to, what is called commonly the triple nexus of development, humanitarian action, and peace and security. Also, during the time that I now in this gap year past graduation spent with working with the United Nations, I, found somewhat the proof that this is what I want to be, spending my time with. And then I think I see two paths forward for me. I'm a very curious and research-driven person, so I can definitely imagine staying in academia for a while for a doctoral degree. But I can also likewise imagine, jumping into the labor market, as it so painfully sounds, and taking up a position probably within, the United Nations family, maybe with a think tank or so, specifically researching or working on the intersection of how frontier technologies, how data can improve work within this nexus of development, humanitarian action, and peace and security.
We cannot wait to see how you develop and the impact you're going to make to this world, because I'm very sure that there's going to be very big. Thank you so much, Philipp. It was wonderful to have you here today at the podcast of KLU. And we wish that you keep collecting all these great achievements for many years to come. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It has been great to be back here and hopefully see you all soon at KLU. Thanks so much.
And with this, it's time to say goodbye. We'll hear more amazing stories in our next episode of this KLU podcast. Until then, receive a warm greeting from who has been on this side of the waves, Laura Guavlini in the production, Christopher Estegar in the technical side, and I am Patricia Mendala. Take care and keep your crane moving. Tschüss!
Discover Kuhne Logistics University in Hamburg, Germany. Learn more about their offered business and supply chain management study programs at the-klu.org.